All right, welcome back. In today's video, we'll be looking at which programming language should you learn first in the year 2024. Today, we'll be exploring some of the programming languages that you are used to and some of the programming languages that you might not have not even heard of at all. So let's get right into it. For context, this is Code Dynasty Studios and my name is Dynasty, and we share tech resources, we share tech videos, we share tech topics and like we speak about tech topics. We also share tech memes too at times. So let's get right into it. And in this video, we're going to be exploring which programming language you should learn first in the year 2024. Let's get right into it. So there's another one. Is the title of the video, which programming language should you learn at all? So yeah, most people on YouTube most people online or on YouTube will tell you that learn Python, learn Java, learn C Sharp, and so on. But they often overlook what aspect of programming you are diving into and what that entails. Let me rephrase this paragraph a bit. What this is basically saying is that okay, you come online, you come onto YouTube, and then you're like, okay, which programming language should I learn? Then some people tell you, oh, learn Java, it's OOP. Learn C Sharp, it is also OOP. Learn Python, it is dynamically typed. Learn Ruby, it's also dynamically typed. But they don't actually tell you what part of programming you are getting into and what are the strengths and weaknesses of that particular programming language. That is where people come short of. So today I want to give you an overview of programming languages based on their types. I had to do a lot of research on this, so please hit the thumbs up and subscribe button if you find this video helpful. Thank you. So, first things first, let's look at an overview of programming languages. Today, we will explore programming languages based on their strengths, weaknesses, and the categories they fall under. First, it's essential to note that many programming languages aim to be versatile, allowing you to do almost anything. They each have unique characteristics that make them suitable for specific tasks. Okay, what this is basically saying is that at any point in time, the minute a programming language is being released, the developers behind that programming language, they always strive to make sure that that programming language is versatile. Let's say, for example, now, when, yeah, let's say today now we use a programming language and then we now say this programming language is only going to be procedural. Procedural is a type of programming language, it's only going to be procedural. And then we have a community behind it. You can see a guy from Mexico, or a guy from China, or a guy from Brazil can actually come up and say, no, I want fine. It is the programming language is procedural, but I want to be able to add in classes. Yes, I want to be able to add in classes into the procedural aspects. Then this is the programming language has moved from procedural now to object oriented, which is one that works with classes. So oftentimes people don't tell you this. That is why we're doing this video. People don't tell you that okay, is this programming procedural? Is this programming functional? Is it functional? Is it low level? Is it even a scripting language, say like JavaScript? They often overlook things like this. And in today's video, we hope that we are going to clarify such. So let's go back a bit in history. Yeah, let's take Java for example here now. Initially, Java was developed for mundane accounting tasks. Yes, back in those days, Java was used for accounting software. Java was used in building accounting software, used in building management software, used in building complex economics stores like accounting softwares and the likes. Because it was statically typed. Yes, Java was used for building mundane accounting tasks back in those days, all because it was statically typed. And people believe that since it was statically typed, they were going to avoid so many errors. But today now you can build a wide range of applications with Java, thanks to frameworks like Spring that power everything from web apps to enterprise solutions. Similarly, C Sharp under the .NET framework has become a powerhouse for creating diverse applications. Yes, to recap a bit, what this is basically saying is that Java, at any point in time, once the minute the programming language is released, the developers behind that programming language they always strive to make that programming language. I think I can call it a GPL, which is called a general purpose language. Yeah, we can call that a GPL, general purpose language, in the sense that that programming language is not limited. Yes, it is not limited at all. It can achieve so many things. If you look at Java now, for example, now Java was initially created for accounting software, mundane accounting tasks that are very boring. But today now Java is used for so many things, legacy code, many aspects of it. Use the Spring Web framework, and then you have Java on another level with web apps. So that is just it. And then yeah, I kept the postscript here. The postscript is actually saying the image by the right is Ada Lovelace. She wrote the first computer program in the world in the year 1840. And yes, girls also learned to code. I've always been seeing there was a post on Stack Overflow the other day on programmers. Yes, on programmers, like the programmers in relation to the gender. Male were over 90 something percent, and sadly, female was less than 5%. So, if you're a female and you're watching this, now might be the perfect. Now is the best time for you to actually get into it because there is a lot. The movement of females learning code is so massive to the extent that they even do debates about it. There is the She Code Africa. There are so many platforms out there for females to learn to code. There are so many platforms out there for females to learn to code. You will also meet people that have also been through it. There are so many. There are even I even saw some software engineers that are working for Sterling Bank and they are female surprisingly. So don't think that I'm a girl, I am limited. No, at any point in time you cannot be limited. The very first computer programmer, like they used to call her, was Ada Lovelace, and she's one by the right here. Now let's continue. Yeah. Now let's get back into what we are doing here. Categories of programming languages. Yes, categories of programming languages. There are about 9 categories of programming languages, and these categories are procedural languages, object-oriented programming, functional programming, scripting languages, low-level programming, logic programming, declarative programming, markup languages, domain-specific languages, and likes. So today we'll focus on the main categories, but keep in mind that there are many, many more. Yes, today we'll focus on the main categories. These are the 9 categories we listed out. We listed out the procedural, the object oriented. But in this video, we'll be focusing on only the main categories. We would skip some of the categories that are not main or essential. Some of these languages are great for beginners, while others may be suited for advanced users. So let's dive deeper into the main types. The very first one is the procedural. Let's start with procedural programming languages. These are all about sequence of commands to be executed. A procedural command, once you hear a procedural programming language, all you should just hear is sequence of commands to be executed. That is how the procedural programming language looks like. And a great example of such is that think of them like following a recipe. Each step builds on the last to achieve the final dish. Popular examples of such is Pascal and C. Yes, so think of a procedural programming language as like a recipe. And in a recipe, a recipe has been broken down into multiple steps. Step 1, bring out the pot. Step 2, on the cooker. Step 3, and the legs. So that is how procedural is. Step 1, that is how procedural programming language is. And here are some of the examples, C and Pascal. They are excellent for tasks requiring clear purpose processes. However, they can be complex for larger projects, which can be challenging for beginners. As a big advice, I won't really advise that you get into procedural as your very first programming language. But if you're a more advanced user, for example, now, like I want to spend time on actually understanding the C language very well. There was this guy online that was even saying something. Said if he could go back in time, that the very first programming language that I would have learned was actually C, because C just makes you know about a lot of things. Honestly, C is so vast. C makes you know about a lot of things, and C was like grandfather of so many programming languages. There is even an extension of C, which is C++. C++ is C with classes. C Sharp also, they also picked a lot of things from C. So many programming languages picked from C. So, but for beginners, actually, it's not advisable for you to start with the procedural programming language. Now, my very favorite, my best actually, this one is my favorite actually, object-oriented programming languages. Next, we have object-oriented programming, or OOP. You might have seen OOP, and then be wondering what the hell is even an OOP. I have a video on OOP where I broke down the 4 concepts of OOP and the 4 core aspects of OOP. Which is, I like to call them API. API is like an abbreviation for me, and this is how I look at it. A stands for abstraction, P stands for polymorphism, I stands for inheritance, and E stands for encapsulation. There is a video on OOP in my channel. There's a video on OOP in the channel, and you can check that out and learn about OOP programming languages. And then I also give some OOP languages that you can start with. Just look at OOP like building a car. Yes, look at OOP like building a car. Each part works together to make sure the car can come up. Yes, there is a great example that you use in explaining OOP languages. There's a great example they use in explaining OOP language, which is like the car example. So languages like Java, C Sharp, and Python fall into this category. Yes, OOP is fantastic for larger applications where modularity and code reusability are crucial. OOP is beginner. Yes, Python has OOP features in it. OOP is beginner friendly, is especially with Python, which has a gentle learning curve. Yeah. Next, the third is functional programming. Now let's talk about functional programming. This pattern treats computation as the evaluation of mathematical functions and avoids changing states of mutable data. A mutable data is a data that can be changed, while mutable data, there is mutable and there is immutable. A mutable data is data that can be changed, while immutable data is data that cannot be changed. So languages like Haskell, Elixir, I make mistake with pronouncing. Languages like Haskell, Elixir, and Scala are examples here. Scala is even an extension of Java, actually. Yeah, Scala is an extension. And one thing I even realized recently was that the code base of Twitter, which we now call X now, was actually written in the Scala programming language. And Scala falls under the functional programming language. Functional programming can lead to a more predictable and less error-prone code, but it may have a steeper learning curve for beginners who are accustomed to more traditional styles. So far, so good. We've treated three. We treated procedural, we treated OOP, and we treated functional. Out of these three, we do not recommend you start with procedural. We also do not recommend you start with functional, but we recommend you start with an OOP, like Java or C Sharp. And the next is scripting languages. Actually, next are scripting languages. Scripting languages is just JavaScript and Ruby. Those are types of scripting languages. There are multiple types of scripting languages out there. These languages automate tasks and make web pages interactive. That's like the purpose of a scripting language. They are very, very good. They are very versatile, and because many are interpreted rather than compiled, they can be easier for beginners to pick up and start using right away. Yes, so languages like JavaScript and Ruby are not compiled. There is compiled programming languages, and there is also interpreted programming languages. I think these ones are the two types of. Yes, when exploring, yes, interpreted is yes, compiled. A compiled programming language is an example of such is like C Sharp. It will scan the entire code, then build. While an interpreted programming language reads line by line, that is an interpreted programming language. And a great example is JavaScript. And yes, we do recommend you start with a scripting language like JavaScript to start your programming career. Then the fifth one is one of the things that I really like, which is low-level programming languages. Yeah, there is this guy on YouTube called Low Level or something like that. He keeps teaching on C, and he keeps advising that we actually get into C, the C language better. And I've also been trying that actually. I've been trying the C language. I've been trying the C language out. And Rust too. Rust is also one of the things on my bucket list. I feel I would actually learn Rust and get really good at it, because they said it's super easy to write operating systems. There are two, and currently, I think you can write operating systems in C or in Rust. Yeah, so Rust is a super efficient way to write operating systems. But let's get back to programming languages actually. Let's not deviate the conversation here. These languages provide more control over hardware and they are essential for system level programming. Yes, your Windows operating system was definitely written in C. However, they require a deep understanding of computer architecture, so they are not ideal for programming for beginners. Yes, low-level programming they require a deep because low-level programming they require a deep learning curve, and it can really get annoying and frustrating. You need to be knowing about the core system data, so you can write desktop apps with search and the likes. So, now that we've explored these programming language categories, it's clear that each has its strengths and weaknesses. So when deciding which language to learn, first, whenever you want to learn a programming language, highlight your goals. Okay, say for example, I can give you a great example now of myself. I when I first started learning the C# programming language now, this is what I actually did. I think, yeah, this is what I actually did. I wrote down the name of the language, then I wrote down why exactly I wanted to learn such language. I got excited about learning C# because there was this guy that I really looked up to then. Back then, his name is Daniel. I really looked up to him then, and he was always helping me to debug my code back then, and he was very good at C#. And then, like, I just fell in love with the language the same way. I fell in love with the language the same way that guy was just helping me out and stuff. And when you write things in C#, you always be like, how are you writing this? Because back then I was just using JavaScript, and JavaScript was super easy. We would declare variables with lets, with const, and the likes. And he was writing C#, he was writing a static types language. So I just fell in love with C#. It was majorly because of that guy, and I call that guy my mentor actually. I don't even think he's still in programming now. I don't think he's still in programming. He might have moved on to another field. But I called him my mentor back in those days. When I have errors, I always go and meet him. I'm always disturbing him and the likes. I just like this guy actually. I even call him Daniel C#. Yeah, I call him Daniel C#. So it was one of the reasons why I fell in love with the C# programming language. So when deciding which language to learn first, consider your goals. Are you interested in web development, data analysis, game development, or something else? For game development, you will mostly be learning things like C++ or C#, and Unity. They work hand in hand. For web development, you should probably know your JavaScript. You should probably know the backend programming language. You should probably know the backend framework, MySQL, and the likes. So this will guide your choice actually. What we essentially did in this video was that we saw a problem, which was people tell you, oh, learn Java, learn C#, learn Python, but they don't tell you what aspect you are getting into. So what we've been able to achieve by highlighting 5, we highlighted 5, the OOP, the procedural, the low level, the functional, the OOP, the procedural, the low level, the functional, and the scripting. What we've been able to do is that we've been able to show you a great overview of programming languages. So it is now left for you to now DIY out, do your own research. I always advise people at any point in time, whenever you want to learn a new technology, sit down and do your own research about what you want to learn and see whether such kind of thing would actually excite you at all. So in conclusion, there isn't a one-size-fits-all programming language. I'm sorry, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. Remember, there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to learning programming languages. The best programming language for you will depend on your goals and interests. So, if you found this video helpful in any way, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and the thumbs up button and subscribe for more tech insights. Thank you for watching and happy coding. Once again, my name is Dynasty and thank you very much for staying to the end. Bye bye.